All right, all right. Have Good Sporting episode 50. Wow, we made it to 50 episodes. Some thought we may never see it. All right, today, here's a rundown. We're going to start. We are 25% done with the college football season, which is a little bit sad because it feels like we should be just getting started. So, we're going to run through the AP top 10 from the start of the season to now. We're going to go over some risers. We're going to go over some fallers. And then we're going to talk about how five top 15 teams preseason are no longer even ranked. Then we're going to get into a discussion about that middle pack in the SEC and how we got it all wrong. And then, because it's not done enough of, I'm going to give my flowers to some of the people in the college football media space and then give you my opinion on the space, just because we want to get a little more time out of this episode than we currently have. All right, let's make sure that the audio is coming out of what I want. Yep, all right, all right, all right. It's coming out of the mic. Would be bad if it wasn't. All right, here we go. AP poll top 10. Here's what we're going to talk about. Seven of the preseason top 10 teams are still top 10. That's good. The three teams that aren't at least lost to one of these teams that's still in the top 10. The outlier here is Notre Dame, who did lose to Miami, but then lost again to Texas A&M, and they're 0-2. Granted, they played two good teams, but they're still ranked, man. Why are we ranking an 0-2 team? It's a merit. If it's truly a merit-based thing, they shouldn't be ranked. All right. But Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State, these are still top 10 teams from the preseason to now. And I want to discuss these three teams all at once just because they are tier one in the Big Ten, right? They are a firm tier above, but there's a problem with being the clear cut top team or in the top tier of your own conference, especially a conference like the Big Ten. And it's that there's AP voters out there. Well, there's the casual fan, and then unfortunately, even some people that get paid to do this stuff that aren't watching you play every week. So if you slip up on a game that no one's watching, you can't recover from that, right? At least lose when people are watching you, which for these three teams, Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State, is only going to be when they're playing each other. And it makes you wish there was more competitive depth in the Big Ten, which I do think there's more of this year. You have Bryce Underwood and Michigan looking good. You have Nebraska year 3 or 4 under Matt Rule that he always rebuilds programs, so they're looking good. You have Illinois, who's a top 10 team in the country, who is kind of top 10. They're benefiting from people dropping below them. Like they've risen 3 spots, and you notice three teams preseason top 10 are no longer there. It's not because they're winning, it's because people are losing, I think. But that is back to Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. That's my thing with them is you're only putting serious hours into these programs in regards to watching them when they're playing each other. So when people are only going to watch you for 3 or 4 weeks out of the year, realistically, 2 losses out of those 3 games, it doesn't mean you're a 10-2 team that's fringe playoff. You could be one of the best teams in the nation. Unfortunately, you're just losing when everyone's watching you, which is not ideal, you know? But I think Penn State is my pick to win the national championship. That's who I was preseason. I'm going to stick with them. Oregon looks fantastic. Ohio State, they're all taking care of business. It's just three teams we're not going to know much about until they play each other. And I've been watching them because I'm better than the average watcher, viewer. It's not true. I'm not no better than anyone. However, I don't know how many more ways I can figure out how to say this. I've already said it 7 different ways, but you know, we'll see when they play each other. That's what I'm trying to get out here. All right, so those are the three teams that are still top 10 from preseason to now. The next team that is there that's risen a little bit is LSU. And I might group Georgia is still top 10 preseason now as well. I'm actually going to group LSU and Georgia together because I don't quite understand why LSU is ranked ahead of Georgia. And by the way, it's fairly unanimous amongst all these AP voters. A lot of them have LSU in front of Georgia. And to them, I tell you this: what is LSU's best win? And you say, oh well, it's Clemson, the top five team that they beat in South Carolina at it was an away game for LSU, and they beat a top five team, and like they looked great. So yeah, they're one of the best teams in the country. Well, I understand the transitive property does not exist. You can't say, well, Clemson went on to do this, but Clemson is not the top five team that we thought they were in the preseason. In fact, they went from four to unranked. They are an unranked team now. So you can establish the value of the win when it happened, which is a good win, or some people would more so look at it from present day where that win doesn't mean as much. And they go look at Georgia's best win, who is against a Tennessee team that is exceeding expectations. And despite losing to Georgia, might be even more conviction for Tennessee that they're really good. So I just think Georgia started ahead of LSU this year. And I don't think their resumes, they have two different 3-0 resumes. And I don't think those resumes are different enough for me to put LSU over Georgia. Because in my eyes, Georgia has played sloppy games, sure. LSU has played arguably three sloppy games out of their three games. So I don't think LSU has done enough to jump Georgia in my eyes. And I think Georgia is a top three or four team in the country. And I think LSU is right behind them, and rightfully so. They're playing well and their defense is better, but they haven't done enough in my eyes to be ahead of Georgia. The next team is Miami. And as much as it hurts me to say this, um, Carson Beck's a really good quarterback, man. I said this a few episodes ago. I think he fell out of love with football. He had some off the field issues, with that twin. And being someone who is dating an identical twin, it takes a lot out of you. I can understand not being able to focus on your occupation because you got this identical twin in your ear, be like, oh, come take me out to dinner, It's like, I gotta play ball. I gotta play ball, lady. Come on. All right, but yeah. Miami looks just nasty on offense. They covered covered the spread, dominated USF, which I did not see coming, but that's because I refuse to believe in Miami. But unfortunately, they have left not a single shred of doubt in my mind that this team's really good. In fact, I would take this team over LSU, but also LSU, we just think that Clemson win for LSU is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think it might be time to reevaluate that win. Yeah, Miami offense looks great. Defense looks great. The O line and D line for Miami, they might have the best O line and best D line in the country. And that is just gonna win you so many ball games and probably keep you from ever losing by more than one possession. Like I just think this Miami team's really good. And I think Carson Beck is like better for this team than Cam Ward was? Maybe, maybe. I mean, Cam Ward was ridiculously good and they were like a number one offense, very high powered. But I think everyone in that room really likes Carson Beck. Fell out of love with football, maybe back in love with football and playing great ball down there at Coral Gables. The last team, so those are six teams that I just touched on that were preseason top 10 and our top 10 currently. The next team is Texas, which is strange. You would think the six teams we talked about are the six teams that are playing like really good ball. But Texas, preseason number one, obviously dropped a good ways, but still top 10. Still a top 10 team, still eight, still controls their own destiny. No, didn't lose. Wasn't a conference loss when they played Ohio State, but they did drop. And the question surrounding the entire universe right now is Arch Manning a good quarterback? He might suck. He might be horrible. And we don't know. Listen, frankly, we don't know. You would think 3 games in, especially with a game against Ohio State as part of that sample size, you want to be like, I've seen enough. I can draw a conclusion about how good he is. I've seen enough ball be played that he might just not be the best. He looked like he was hurt, but then he's spiking the ball, he's overthrowing guys. but Texas is a top 10 team nonetheless because that defense is so, so good. Again, a top three defense in America in regards to talent and in regards to production. I think they're very good. It's just you hate having questions about Arch Manning this far into the season. And I know we're only a quarter of the way, but you would think he would come off of that Ohio State game after struggling and just go ball out against inferior competition. He still looked bad. It was like obviously the offense improved because there's such a talent gap that the O line protects better. The wide receivers get more separation. The running backs can run through people's faces. But it's like, I don't think it matters what level of defense is out there. Arch Manning is going to overthrow a ball or spike a ball, and it's going to look bad. And they're not going to score as many points as they should. So, lots of questions about Texas. More questions than probably any team in the top 10. But they're definitely not the worst team in the top 10. So, it's an interesting dichotomy there. We don't know much about them other than that they're really good, but may just not be good enough to reach their preseason goals. All right, we got some risers here. Going to start with the risers, then we're going to go to the fallers. Um, the big riser, FSU, obviously, Florida State, unranked to seven in the country. Seven, seven is like super ambitious for this team. Everyone's clearly very high on them. Um, But beat Alabama, went up to 15, 12, 20. I don't know. I don't know where they went up to. But, 3-0 now, and now they're seventh in the country. And now I think Mike Norvell might be the first coach to ever go undefeated, 2-10, undefeated. What do you do with a coach like that, right? He's an anomaly of a guy. This is an anomaly of a team. Tommy Castellanos, an anomaly of a quarterback. But it's awesome to see what Florida State's doing. Well, actually, I hate to see it. Um, because as a Florida guy, Florida State we chalked up as a win early in the year. Now we're going to be underdogs in that game, which sucks. But fun to watch. I mean, this is a team that looks like they're going to put up 50 no matter what. Is that right? And then the defense obviously isn't as horrible and weak as they were last year. Seventh in the country, man, that's ambitious. I want to say we haven't seen much from them, but they dominated Alabama. Like maybe they are seven. I don't know. I'm gonna have to take a dive into FSU as a team and tell you if I really think seven's right for them. This next riser I have has only gone from 12th in the country to nine, but it's Illinois. And I don't want to talk about them so much because they're a riser, but I want to talk about them because I think this happens with a few teams every year where their ascent into maybe the playoff or into the top 10 is a product of other teams falling. And I think if you go look at Illinois, they beat Duke. They were favored by like 3.5, ended up pulling away in the second half and dominating. Took care of business against two other overmatched opponents. And each week they just go up one, and then they go up one, and they go up one because teams are dropping. And ultimately, Illinois is going to play one of the big boys, and we're going to figure out if they deserve to be there. But I think they have a few weeks here to kind of, well, actually, let's see. They may not have a few weeks, at least not a month, but I think they have another game or two to where maybe they rise high enough off the back of other teams losing to where if they lose to an Ohio State or a Penn State or an Oregon, they don't fall outside of the top 12. Like they're still in that playoff picture. They got Indiana, USC, Purdue, Ohio State. Indiana's an interesting one. That's actually we're gonna learn a lot there because Indiana's favored, obviously, by 5.5. It says. I mean, you would think you rank Illinois number nine and Indiana 19, but you're gonna go ahead and favor Indiana by 9.5. Maybe Illinois is getting a little too big for their britches, but they're gonna have every opportunity to prove that they're a top 10 team. I just think it's interesting that they've flown under the radar. Because I know, every team in the top 10, even top 15, is getting all this publicity. And Illinois is just like, well, I'll just squeeze in there at nine. You're not going to recognize me, but I'll be there at nine. All right, team number three, that's a big riser, Georgia Tech. went from unranked in the preseason and they're 18th this week. And I think they're going to keep going up. This is a team who is, I don't have the betting odds for the ACC here, but I would assume they're a top three team behind FSU or Miami, then FSU, then Tech, then probably still Clemson or whatever. Maybe an SMU is in there. But Georgia Tech's good, man. I have them in my playoff preseason. I put them in my playoff. It's one of the better picks. It's one of looking to be one of the better picks. Um, Not much to say about the team other than I thought they were always good, and I think now them being ranked 18th is just where they deserve to be. I think they were just underranked because I think they were always good. I think Haynes King is a fantastic leader, one of those guys who can not be the best athlete, best thrower of the ball, best traditional quarterback, but is a leader and plays with so much heart that he just overcomes challenges and is a soldier, man. Will run through anybody, I'm telling you. Next riser is Vanderbilt, unranked to top 20. A lot of Auburn and Missouri kind of fall in this riser category too, like these unranked SEC teams. 3-0 start now into the top 25. I just picked Vanderbilt because watching Diego Pavia play ball is so much fun, and I hope the NCAA grants him 14 more years of eligibility because he's not going to be great in the NFL. I feel mildly confident saying that, but he's so fun in college. He's the Tim Tebow of our generation. Just a guy you know is going to stink it up in the pros when he gets his shot, but is just so the best college watch ever. Next one, Utah, unranked, top 15 almost. They're sliding at 16 this week. And we seemingly forgot that Kyle Whittingham is a really good coach, and this is a historically successful program. So they're back at 16. Another one of those where I just think that's where they belong. I think they were just underrated. Like an FSU team wasn't underrated. They just overshot expectations so far, and no one saw it coming, and they're really good, and they're all the way to 7. A Utah team, I think they were always one of the 20 best teams, just finally got rated there after being underrated for a few weeks. All right, some fallers. Man, Florida, 15th in the preseason to unranked now. Um, the defense is better than advertised. I think we're giving up 12 points a game. You hold you hold the LSU offense, this potent LSU offense, to 20 points despite giving them the ball 5 times and not being able to do anything on offense. I'm very happy with the defense. I'm very happy with Jaden Ball. I'm very happy with our All-American center and our left tackle. I'm happy with a few receivers. It's just something's wrong with DJ Lagway. He's not practicing. He's not playing up to his potential. Billy Napier is not a good offensive coordinator, and I wish he would delegate that responsibility if he wanted any chance to stick around in Gainesville. Um, Trey Wilson is your best receiver, and he's a decoy on a jet motion every play. If I was Trey Wilson, I would transfer immediately um, because of maltreatment or whatever that term is. I don't know. Just a disappointing thing. You lose by 2 and you lose by 10. Like it's not these egregious results. It's just the fashion in which they happen and the USF team that it happened to that now you're just behind the 8 ball for the foreseeable 2 months and barring some unforeseen miracle comeback in the offense in offensive play calling and production, you are going to have another lackluster year, maybe Billy Napier's last. The next faller, who's fallen even further than Florida, but still not out of the top 25, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 0-2. I don't really want to. They should have won. Uh, they could be 2-0. They could be 1-1, but they're 0-2. If you're 0-2, you just shouldn't be ranked 24th in the country. You haven't won yet. Okay? I don't mind them being 1-1 and you rank them top 15 because at least they've proven they've beaten somebody. But we don't know if this is a team that has a habit of losing close games or if this is a team that can come through or if it's just, an underperforming Notre Dame team. I like Marcus Freeman. I do think they could have won both games. And this is not so much a dissection of their play on the field. It's just them being 0-2 and me not agreeing with them still being ranked. What I do agree with is Clemson being unranked after getting scallywamped. Surely that's not a term. But they lose to LSU and Georgia Tech. I was wrong about them. I thought they were going to be really good. I thought the defense was going to be dominant. But they're just getting outclassed, against these one LSU big program, two Georgia Tech not as big of a program. You're playing in Atlanta, obviously, but Haynes King was a better quarterback that day than Cade Klubnik. You know, I was high on Georgia Tech. I obviously had him in my playoff. Didn't surprise me, but preseason, no one thought Cade Klubnik would ever be outclassed by Haynes King, and it happened. It happened. It's unfortunate. The offense looks pedestrian at best. Um, Dabo needs to get with the times, man. He was always going to be the guy that probably would retire because he disliked the state of the sport so much. Maybe it happens sooner rather than later, but Clemson is struggling. It gets sad talking about these fallers. Next one's Arizona State. Sort of a martyr for Mississippi State to get one of their biggest wins in program history. I really like Kenny Dillingham, um, but Sam Levitt, just not everything that he was advertised, and they lose to Mississippi State in Starkville. Um, Not much to say about that other than losing Cam Skattebo clearly was crucial, and Cam Skattebo might be better than Ashton Genty. Said it. I said it. Next one, South Carolina, 13 unranked. I mean, I'm having a complete brain fart in regards to who South Carolina lost to, and it makes me bad at this little job that I have. So let's see. Who did they lose to? Oh, Vandy. Yeah, we predicted that game. We predicted Vandy to win because we love Vanderbilt and we love Diego Pavia. Lenore Sellers went down. The 31-7 is not reflective of how that game would have gone with Lenore Sellers. But even with Lenore Sellers, they still lose that game. They still lose that game. This is how Beamer ball works. You go 6-6, and then you go 9-3, and then everyone's high on you, and then you go 6-6 again. Lenore Sellers is a beast. He should be back. I haven't heard what the time frame was on that hit, but it wasn't horrible. It looked horrible on the field, but he'll be back. South Carolina will be fine, but they're with how deep the SEC is, you can't fall behind that middle pack of teams because it'll be too much ground to make up. Bama fell from tier one to that middle tier that we're going to talk about soon. They fall from 8 to 14. They've taken care of business since losing to FSU, but got punked against FSU. Was legitimately not as good as FSU, which is something you do not historically say about Alabama. But that's our breakdown of the top 10 and the risers and the fallers in this first quarter of the college football season. We're gonna flip over here and get to the backside. What? All right. So this next segment, I'm just gonna talk about how we as a collective world predicted the middle of the SEC wrong. We knew preseason top 10, Texas, Georgia, Bama, LSU. We would call that tier one. The preseason tier one. The next two in the preseason was South Carolina and Florida. And then after that, the other ranked teams were Oklahoma, A&M, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Now, the only real tier one you got is LSU, Georgia, and Texas. I'm still putting Texas there because their defense is going to keep them in every game. Um, Bama falls out of that. Then the next two ranked teams, just outside the top 10 for the SEC, is Texas A&M and Oklahoma. Both 3-0, both teams that we thought could pop and then ended up popping. Um, South Carolina and Florida fall to unranked, and now they're behind six other unranked teams: Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, Vandy, Auburn, Missouri. The SEC has half of the back half of the AP Top 25. From 13 to 25, half of them are SEC teams. We already discussed why Georgia is behind LSU. We don't know, but it's just interesting to look at how the SEC is playing out because you have three, five, you have 11 ranked SEC teams, but preseason we thought South Carolina and Florida were going to be, fighting to get into the playoff. They had two quarterbacks that were supposed to work out, and now Florida's who's worse than Florida right now? Mississippi State, Kentucky, who they both play. That's good. But we predicted the middle of the SEC wrong. We got the order wrong, and I don't think anyone predicted it to be this bunched up. You have Bama and Tennessee with good losses, and then you have A&M, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Vandy, Auburn, Missouri, all undefeated. So now it looks like I wrote an article a while ago. I had a ton of teams in the SEC going 8-4, like maybe six teams going 8-4, something like that. Now it looks like these teams already won a game that they maybe should have lost or just look better than we thought they were going to look. And now you have, I mean, LSU should get into the playoff. They got to get the offense going. Georgia looks good. Texas obviously doesn't look fantastic on offense. But I mean, any of these 11 teams you could argue have a path to the playoff. I mean, can't argue it. They do. They're either undefeated or with one loss to a top 10 team, top 5 team even. And it's going to be, I mean, every game's important in the SEC. Every game is important. It's going to be fun to watch, man. I'm excited. So excited to watch it. LSU, Georgia, Texas, A&M, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, Vandy, Auburn, Missouri. 11 teams. Wow. All right. Notebooks away. I'm going to lean back a little bit and I'm just going to divulge into this space that I've been getting into recently, which is the college football media space. It's fun. It's fun. It's a passion of mine. It's something I would love to do for a job one day. Um, but I have a few takes on it. I think I'm gonna put this out as its own video. Um, but I do want to talk about a few things. I'm going to give you my opinion on college football media. Then I'm going to give you maybe my top, I'm going to give you top two for sure. I'm just going to give you my two favorite content creators in the space. I'm going to give these guys their flowers because it's something we don't do enough in life. Definitely not in this space. But two guys that deserve to be acknowledged for their work, despite, I mean, maybe they see it. You never know the power of a Twitter post, but two guys I like watching. Some things I don't like about the space, some things I do. First of all, I think when I'm recording this, I have like 13 subscribers. I think all of that is family and friends. Um, so nothing I do is high stakes right now. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, being in the college football media space is not very high stakes. And it's one of those things, it's like meteorologists. They can afford to be wrong and often are about the weather. And when we do these recaps, when we do previews and predictions, it's a huge part of this space. And you're never going to get it all right. Half the time you get it wrong. And if there's no serious consequences for getting things wrong in your job, then why are we regurgitating information that we hear? I'm not accusing anyone of this because I tend to do it myself. Sometimes when I make these videos, I really like a certain guy. I like the way he speaks, or I like his take on something. I try to listen to why he has that take. And then maybe I don't make it my own take, but I'll be like, yeah, you know what? I wasn't high on Georgia Tech before the year, but because Josh Pate likes him and explain why, I think, yeah, I'll put him in my playoff anyway. So I do it too. I mean, I understand it, but when I listen back to it and hear certain things I said, I can hear myself trying to sound like someone I'm not. That is not what I want to be. Even if these episodes suck, if I can listen to it and be like, you know what, that was really me, and I'm getting better at it, then that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters. Especially in such a ultimately non-serious pursuit, such as making a show like this. Um, so yeah, if anyone sees this, I just encourage them to learn from others, without copying others, I guess. Be yourself. Um, I think what me and my friends do such a good job of, and my family too, is like celebrating the things that are so weird about people, like the things that make them them. My buddy Ed is a weirdo, and I love him for it. He's absolutely insane and does things wrong that I find funny, and I think all the things that make him him are just spectacular. I think my dad's a real weirdo too, but he's great. Um, so yeah, you don't have to be perfect. You can be wrong, but as long as you're you, people will listen to you. Maybe someone listens to me because of that. Um, Next, I want now I'm gonna give some flowers to two guys. The two guys that I listen to the most in this college football space are Josh Pate and Brooks Austin. And most people know Josh Pate. He's one of the bigger guys. I think he does a tremendous job of he seems like a guy. Now, granted, I haven't met either of these men, but they both you can tell that when the camera turns off, they were very authentic on camera. So when the camera turns off, not much is going to change, right? They're who they were on screen and off screen. They're always the same. Um, I like that about Josh Pate. I like his little quirks he has. He's also from Georgia, so some of these little inside jokes he has with his audience, I understand. Um, he breaks down things very well. He's very articulate, significantly more articulate than I am. Can follow a topic for 10 minutes very succinctly and efficiently, whereas I can do something for 10 minutes, but I'm all over the board with it. Um, so in regards to the production, the succinctness, how he articulates himself, his voice, his brand, I really like Josh Pate. I think he does fantastic stuff. And then more so in a football sense, and also a Georgia guy, so I really like that state of Georgia guy. He's a Georgia football guy. Okay, whatever. Brooks Austin, the film guy. Um, Been watching him for a while. He has like 60,000 subscribers right now, and he's gained like 10,000 in the last week. Just ridiculous growth. I can never say anything with complete certainty, but this is a guy that's going to be at the top of his field. He's absolutely blowing up. I'm very happy to see it. And this is a guy that works his tail off. Um, Obviously, the Film Guy Network is his brand. He watches film, he breaks things down in a way that me, someone who doesn't know the X's and O's of the game that well, can understand it. And I mean, I'm a Florida fan. He is very obviously a Georgia guy. Um, I wouldn't um, accuse him of being a Georgia fan. He clearly sides with Georgia more often than not. Um, But again, very articulate, not aggressive with the way he speaks, but just very speaks with a lot of conviction. Him and his boys work so hard and they're blowing up, and I'm very happy to see it. And I don't know why that kind of wraps up our show. And I don't necessarily know why I felt moved to say those things. Maybe because I can talk about whatever I want to talk about, and only like 20 people are going to watch this. But maybe you took something out of it, you know? We love football here. It's one of our favorite things. It's the best thing. Um, but it's not just unimportant hobby, right? This is people's careers, um, people that are wrong or do something unethical. It can ruin their career. Um, So I'm always encouraged by people that are true to them with their own voice and own brand and really embrace the things that make them unique rather than the regurgitation of material. And I don't think like everyone that's has a big role in this space does not really do that. I mean, I think I fall victim to that by just trying, like, if I can sound like the other guy, maybe I'll be as good as the other guy. That's not how it's going to be, right? You got to be your own person. So I encourage you to do that, maybe, if you're listening and we're looking for advice, life advice on a college football podcast, which aren't. Um, but yeah, all right. Um, didn't end up previewing any games, but we are probably drop something on Thursday or Friday, which would be tomorrow or the next day. But thank you for listening. If you've gotten this far, I do appreciate it. And if you took something out of this, if your day is better, or you enjoyed it, or you learned something, I appreciate that. And I don't even need you to, well, I would like for you to subscribe. I don't need you to. It doesn't make you a bad person if you don't, but it definitely makes you a better person if you do. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Have good sporting, episode 50. Um, yeah. Love football. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.